Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, hold on a second. I'm still getting situated. Music. All right, let's go. We just had some news here. Hold on. I'm not getting. There we go. We are getting some news here. I know I'm super late. Advanced good trades balance negative 84 spot 6 versus an expected negative 90. That is kind of bullish. That would be something that would be strong the dollar, wouldn't it? Yeah, you are seeing the dollar move up a little bit, and the treasuries are moving down as a result as well. Interesting. I think the flows in the treasuries are probably tilted to the downside overall, but I don't know, that was a strong down move and it looks like they're already retracing it. Let's come and look at the charts real quick. Get ourselves kind of oriented, yeah? So yesterday in the treasuries, we did have a pretty strong buy come in. I believe that was probably short covering. Another thing that was going on yesterday was that there was some concern about First Republic Bank. So there was a little bit of a run, like they lost like 50% their stock yesterday. But overall, it's okay. I don't know if they're going to survive or not, but it seems like when that one is going bad, you see a bit in the treasuries, right? In the ES taking a pretty heavy hit yesterday during the day session, but then recovering in the overnight as the tech earnings ended up being largely positive. All right, so here you have oil having to move down this morning, pushing towards the bottom end of its range. I tell you what, that's a pretty clean support line there. That must mean we're about to break it, huh? As soon as I notice it. Okay, gold and silver kind of heading to the upside, but I would say really in the middle of their ranges. Copper having a bad day yesterday, trying to recover a little bit of it today, but they're not having too much success, are they? And then, okay, so we are getting a big jump in Bitcoin this morning, and the dollar is back towards 101. So that is interesting. Top stories this morning: in fatal blow, UK regulator blocks Microsoft 75 billion takeover of Activision, and Goldman flow guru warns quants have up to 276 billion to sell. Yes, so that's an important one to know. I'm not 100% sure what the flows are here for the treasuries, but it's looking like the flows over in the equities are probably tilted to the downside. If we start to get some downside action somewhere around 40, 30 or something like that, there's kind of some flip where it starts to get more excessive. So, but for the moment, it looks like the treasuries are recovering that decline off of the news quite well. Again, core durable goods, spot 3 versus expected negative spot 2. U.S. durable goods 3.2% versus 0.7%. Wow. That probably also factored in the downside. And then advanced goods trades balance less than expected negative 84 versus expected negative 90. And that temporarily helped the dollar Looks like the dollar's falling back down. And by the way, even with all of this, you still have the treasuries at 3.4. So, whole 10 basis points away from that 3.5 that we spent so much time at. Well, I'm gonna read around a little bit here. I've got some stories. I don't know if I want to read these ones out loud. You know, I don't want to read something out loud unless I know that it's like significant to you guys, but I can kind of spend a little bit of time researching here a little bit. That's a dog here. So the story I'm seeing is the Biden administration is concerned that Ukraine cannot regain significant territory in its counteroffensive planned this spring. The U.S. is also worried that many of its European allies will favor negotiations between the warring sides if Ukraine's offensive fails. I'm just thinking about that story. Like, I too would be skeptical about how much they can gain. I mean, Ukraine has surprised us before, right? But what I find more interesting is that story appears to be some sort of a leak. And I'm wondering, is it really a leak, or is this kind of more propaganda? I have to see. Looks like we need to come back over here. Binance faces mounting pressure as U.S. crypto crackdown intensifies. Bitfinex, oh no, more bad news. Quick, we need to manipulate the market upwards to get everyone to think they're getting richer as we're stealing all their money. I do find the buy in Bitcoin a little bit suspicious, but that was the same thing earlier when it moved up last week. And then that came back. So I'm just seeing a lot of volatility in the cryptocurrency market that doesn't make a lot of sense, you know? And I keep thinking, oh, I'm missing a piece of news, and then it's never out there. Yep. Brannigan Barrett, Fed balance sheet is a key theme given equities are higher on the year as a result of massive surge in liquidity in the global system. Switch on traders. Yeah. Totally. Okay, so I'm going to reset current trades here. since it looks like we've come back, because it seems like it's kind of quiet, but I'm having a hard time telling. Nick Timoros, Nick Timoros tweeting, quoting somebody, I don't know who this is, WHCOS Science. You can be reassured the regulators are deeply involved in monitoring the situation and will take necessary actions. Yellen and Powell have repeatedly said they will use the tools they have if needed to support the banking system. You know, I saw some stories yesterday, people saying that the government were going to take over FRC, and that like it didn't happen. And like the larger financial media ignored it, basically. I find that a really interesting take. It's like there's a group of people out there that are still like hypersensitive to it and are just kind of watching and waiting for the opportunity that like thing, you know, volatility explodes again and it's like a big disaster sort of a thing. Interesting. The liquidity over here in the micro treasury futures is being kind of flighty. It's moving around a lot. There was like a little bit of downside over here, but it was like on very, very low volume, and then it came back, and this is like moving all around. I don't know. I didn't see too many trades over in here because of it, but it does kind of look like they're playing the games already here. I think if I was somebody that was coming in and was executing a large meta order today, regardless of whether I was going long or short, I would probably be concerned about the amount of activity that I'm seeing right now and might be stirring the pot a little bit. I wouldn't say it's dead. I wouldn't say the treasuries are dead. It is pretty light, though. It is pretty light. Man, it must be spring because I think my allergies are taking off. Seeing a little bit of selling in oil here. Good morning. Might just be an easy day today. Might just be able to sit back and relax a little bit. Don't have any like major news that we haven't talked about. We don't. We may just be in an interim period up until the next Federal Reserve meeting in the data, you know? Seeing little pieces, we're in a situation where not a lot is going on, and I'll see stuff on Twitter pop by and I'll be like, well, that's, you know, they're trying to get my attention, but like there's not any actual information in it, you know? Not worth mentioning. We can always practice our Rust programming. Oh, I need to get more into into the machine learning thing. I've been finding it real difficult to focus lately. Part of it is that I've been spending a lot more brain power on the day jobs, so you know, you only got so much energy in a day. I do need to get through video about the volume profile that I wrote. I was hoping for better data. I guess we'll have to address that in the video. So I should finish writing that video so that I can try and record it this weekend and put it out. We'll see. I don't know what we're gonna. I think at the very least we test the sprinklers this weekend. But I don't know if we're gonna be doing the rocks, the gravel. But anyways, before I dive too much deeper into Rust, I think that I need to finish this machine learning book and go and get a Rust book, because Rust is turning out to be something that you can't just, like Python. I've been brushing up Python skills. That's just something that I can just kind of randomly pick up. But Rust is not like that. Rust requires you to really study it. Miss the AI rally, eh? So I saw this thing today. ChatGPT was getting in hot water because they're using data and they didn't ask for permission to use that data, and like EU rules are more strict, and so ChatGPT may get in trouble or get banned or something like that in the EU because of them using data that they didn't have permission to. And the person that was talking about that was saying that the primary source for ChatGPT was Reddit, and that Reddit is now realizing how valuable their data is and are clamping down on it. And I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. That it's Reddit primarily. I mean, I assumed that Reddit was in there, but not as key of a data set as this person made it seem. Yeah, seriously. I think that some of it's, if we were to say that ChatGPT is, let's say, overly reliant or biased towards the Reddit view of things, then that really gives you an opportunity to mess with it, doesn't it? Because it's very easy to guess what Reddit is going to think about things, and it is very easy to determine the things, or to find the things that Reddit is wrong about, right? Like, Reddit has this hive mind idea, and there are certain subjects that you can will get Reddit going. Some of the more obvious ones, ChatGPT is probably already kind of quelled, right? Like, here's the test that I would want to do, that I wish I had done like early on. I don't know if it would say anything about it now. Is I would ask it about circumcision. Actually, let's try asking it. Let's try asking it. Should we ban circumcision? Oh, it tries to tell me both sides of the argument. Because that's one of those subjects that if you get into on Reddit, everybody will get like super. That's one of the ways to trigger Reddit is to talk about circumcision. We'll put it that way. Like if you're talking to the leftists on Reddit, and you want to try and, like, you know, prod out that anti-Semitism in them, start talking about circumcision, man. Good grief. I still feel like there could be some business to be done in the treasuries today. So they are kind of wiggling around in this range. Doesn't seem why. Well, I closed the window, so I can't see what ChatGPT said. But a lot of people on Reddit think that because the baby can't consent to it, that you shouldn't be allowed to do it. Basically, you shouldn't be able to circumcise babies. It's honestly, it's a weird subject how it like became so common in the United States and all. It's a weird subject that some people have bizarrely strong opinions about. Babies can't consent to anything, therefore they should be left in the wild to their own devices. Did you see this thing the other day where like Joe Biden was kind of like pushed back against the idea of children belonging to their parents, and Biden kind of said, no, they belong to all of us. Do you hear that one? This is how it's gonna play out. I'm telling you, man. In the next election cycle, yeah, leftists think children belong to the state. This is how it's gonna play out. Is they're gonna get into one of these subjects, like maybe just education in general, but maybe they're talking about the happenings with what I will call the transgender movement. And then it's going to turn into, well, you parents shouldn't be the ones to decide. And every parent in America will be like, holy shit, like, you don't think that I have some right to say what my child is and isn't exposed to, and that I, the person that spends the most time with the child and is the most interested in the child, does not know as well as the government does what is best for the child? Because this happened in, what was it? Was it North? I can't remember if it was Virginia or North Carolina, where the governor took that line and it just absolutely destroyed their campaign. And it kind of, that to me was, in that election cycle, was like one of the biggest upsets of that cycle, and everybody kind of swept it under the rug and ignored it. But that was like the most significant one. Like, if you're a Republican and you're looking for like the template to destroy Democrats on social issues, you turn it into an issue of education and expose that the left thinks that the children belong to them. Do you receive? I do. I mean, in terms of like taxes, dude, I have to be honest. No, I don't have to be honest with you, but I will tell you anyways, because I have 3 stepkids and 2 kids of my own. And with the 3 stepkids, one of those kids switches. So like, my wife claims one and her ex claims the other, and then the third one floats between them on taxes each year. So last year, the ex had them. This year, we had them. But then we also had another child. So that meant that we claimed 4 children on our taxes this year. And while almost everybody else got lower tax returns, my tax return was like, oh, wow, way more than I was anticipating. But I'm going to save it all. I'm going to try and save as much of it as I can for college, because it doesn't look like they're going to do anything about the rising costs of education anytime soon. So I'm going to have to save it up. The whole oppose at any cost thing is spread. Well, no, I don't understand what you mean by the oppose at any costs thing. I don't think that's what it is. Here's what's happening. The reason that Republicans lost the culture war to Democrats in the 90s was because Republicans basically ended up always telling children to not do things that they wanted to do. Don't go and play violent video games. Don't go and watch these, violent R-rated movies. Don't have premarital sex, and don't have premarital sex being the biggest one. And so the morality police on the right really pushed away kids, because, man, it's microstructure sometimes, man, right? If you can have sex and not have any consequences, the average person will do it. And you can see that play out, and it happens even though it was completely contrary to like every social convention and, clause in morality and religion and so on and so forth, right? And It had already kind of started in the 60s and 70s, and so when it came time to the kids in the 90s, it was like, well, everybody else is having sex, why can't I have sex? That's why it happened, right? And then the right, the big issue turned into the right fighting against gay marriage, right? Well, the whole thing is that those kids that did that, okay, that defied the religious moral codes, they were confronted by other peers, you know, and their basic take was, if I'm like, the logical and like most beneficial thing for me to do is to leave and go to something else, and the people that are staying with the social convention must just be stupid. No, it's not just that they're stupid. That wouldn't make sense. No, it's because they were conditioned to be that way and they're sticking with it. And I'm one of the ones that broke free. That's what they think. That's what they think. So what happened? They grew up and they realized, okay, what I have to do is I have to save these kids from them. And that's what it's turned into, is that they've realized you need to you want to try and condition the kids when they're in elementary, junior high school, so that by the time they get into college, they think the way that I want them to think. And that's what the left is doing. It's 100%, and it's 100% like an emotional, like, trigger response that causes them to behave this way, which is why when you come into these kinds of situations like it does with school boards, I saw this story yesterday that, oh man, I tried to confirm it and I could not find any information on it. Okay, so like, I'm just telling you the parents' side of the story, but a parent in Rhode Island wanted to know what the school curriculum was, and the school board didn't want to tell her and told her to file a information request to get the information. So she filed a bunch of information requests for all of the different questions that she had about their curriculum. And then the school board like started a campaign against her. Like, they had a board meeting where they attacked her. And then, you know, when she didn't back down, they sued her. So they sued this lady for filing an information request about what the children were being taught in the school. Whoa. How crazy is that? And you gotta be sitting there thinking, like, any rational person has to be sitting there thinking, like, how does that happen, right? Why would the school board be so crazy? I'm telling you, well, maybe part of it is that they are trying to manipulate your children and they don't want you to know. And I'm sure that there's kind of that sort of a thing going on. But I'm telling you, it's like an irrational emotional response, because they developed this emotional trigger when they were young because of fighting against social moral codes. The excited states of America. I think it's like, from a systems perspective, it's a really interesting system to look at and think about, because, like I said, the microstructure is a certain way, right? Like, the average person, if they can have sex and there's no downsides to them for it, they will probably do it. That the average person will, right? But when you look at the larger system, it seems to me, based on what we've seen so far, that when you break down some of those social conventions, you get chaos, right? Like, those moral codes existed for a reason. They weren't, I think that the anti-religion people will say, oh, it was a method of control. It was just to try and control you. But I really think that it was kind of things that developed over time as societies became more agrarian and you had small towns, you know, everybody doing it with everybody kind of caused problems. And so they started to make it a immoral thing, right? And it's just happened to get to the point now where in modern society, the whole system of religion basically has been undermined. So then people are free, they go and they do what they want, and you are seeing some negative impacts from it, you know. And we're not even at the beginning of understanding what the actual consequences of it will be. You know, like one of the consequences that you see here is that many women end up not having children. So what is going to happen when you have a huge section of 40 and 50-year-old women that were never married? What does that do? I don't know. I mean, they vote a certain way, and it's definitely affecting the way that elections are going. People are talking about the kids, you know, the Gen Z and even millennials are not becoming more conservative as time goes on. They're staying liberal, and they're like, you know, this demographics change is the important thing, and that's what's going to make the Republican Party go away. I think that the more important and more interesting demographic shift you're seeing right now is the rise of middle-aged and older-aged single females and their impact on politics is what's really shifting things. And it's actually causing a dichotomy. Like, they're becoming so powerful and they're having such a strong influence in politics and culture that there's another group of people, which is primarily men, are saying, well, hey, wait a second, I don't like this. This is not good. This is not good. Right? So they say that like the women are not becoming more conservative, but the men are. And they ignore that shift in the demographics. It's going to be politically significant at some point. I mean, I think that it was probably a large part about Trump. Like, it was men that pushed Trump over the top, right? Back in the day, we used to learn math at school, and now math is illegal at school. Yeah, I tell you, so here's the thing that you got to understand about that stuff, okay? There is like theory about, I want to say this stuff, but I have to be like more specific than what is this stuff, okay? There's like, for instance, there's critical race theory. So what is critical race theory? Well, critical race theory is this idea that racism can affect a lot of things and have a big impact, and then they will try and hide it. So the idea with critical race theory is that maybe racism had a larger impact on certain historical events than we realize, and that we should be critical and to think about how racism might have impacted that thing. So it's kind of a framework to say, well, okay, but this is what we know, but maybe it was like this, right? Okay, but then there's this larger kind of, I almost want to say Marxist thinking, which is they want to elevate, they want to bring down oppressors and elevate the oppressed, right? And one of the key lines of thinking behind this group of people is that the truth doesn't matter, right? They are more that like the way that the society came to where it was by not by what was really happening or what was reality. It was through coercion and control. And so if we want to change it back around, we also have to utilize that. That's their thinking, right? Now, that's like what the intellectuals are doing, right? And then the intellectuals turn around and they kind of teach these things, and like lower level people pick up on it, but they don't understand it. And they're not thinking about it consciously, right? And so what you end up with is you end up with this group of people that are essentially trying to undermine society. Right? Like everything that's good, they want to tear it down. Anything that's tradition, they want to tear it down. Right? So this is where you get into, and this is how you end up with this thing where people are trying to say that 1 + 1 does not equal 2, right? because from their perspective, it doesn't matter that 1 + 1 equals 2. What matters is what the powers that be say it is, and what the oppressed say it is, and so on and so forth. And they're going to go with that to elevate the oppressed people. See what I mean? And I tell you what, it's like one of the things that I don't think that comes into this conversation, but really should, like especially with critical race theory, because people say, well, what's wrong with teaching history? Well, okay, so number one, critical race theory is not history, because critical race theory is kind of like a hypothetical approach to history, and a hypothetical approach that like historians can take to look at things, and then maybe they will find discoveries and find proof that actually racism did actually impact that thing, or whatever the deal is, right? But what they're not considering is, what does the average person do when they are driven by these ideologies, and it ends up being objectively negative things for society, right? They're making the same mistake that I made with Facebook, because I thought, oh, if everybody has Facebook and everybody can post their opinion about things or can promote things, then that will be really cool, and it'll be really fun, and people can become closer from that. And that's not what happened, because the reality is that the average person did not use social media the way that I did, and the companies involved did not use their power the way that I wanted them to use it, and it ended up being a complete disaster, right? I thought it was going to be great, and it did not go that way, and now hardly anybody uses social media. But all of these things make American politics really hard to understand for the average person, I think. You know, like analyzing the politics, you have to go dive into all of that stuff, and then realize that, you know, like some people's actions are more triggered responses and programmed responses more than they are rational responses, because our typical frameworks about these sorts of things are like, what's the rational thing for actors to do, and you take all of the demographics of it and figure out what they'll do, and that's not the world we live in anymore. The Republican Party will not go away. They will just go to Dubai and Saudi Arabia. No. I think that you will just, as it has always happened, parties will shift as the people shift. This whole idea that like one party is going to go away is a really naive view of politics, right? That's kind of a view that like the Republicans have their party platform, and that platform has always been the same and will always be the same, and the people that are in it are the people that have always been in it and will always be in it, and the newer people will not like that party and go over, and then this party will die out. And that's not how political parties work. Political parties are coalitions of interests coming together to create a platform. And with the way that the game works in the United States, it sections out into two major political parties. So if one particular party becomes too strong, that they will fracture. And so the one thing that you did see once was one party did die out, and then this other party fractured into two and became the new party. And that's where you kind of get Democrats and Republicans, because before that it was like Whigs and stuff like that, and the Whig party died out, right? So the same thing would like I would think it would be very unlikely for a party to like dissolve, but instead what's going to happen is the party will shift. As people's views change, the party's view will change to remain competitive in the elections, right? So I was kind of wondering if the treasuries were going to have like some downside action. So far they've kind of been on a slight uptrend. The volume is pretty, like, look at this. I don't know if I've ever seen this before, man. Look at how clean. Here, hold on. You see this line right here? It's like a perfect sine wave. This right here. You see that? I have never seen that before. That is incredibly suspicious, don't you think? It's like a perfect sine wave in the 10-year treasury. That really makes me want to not trade. I don't wish to start a company there since they can change rules and regulation overnight as it pleases them. One of the things that really bothers me in modern society, and that I'm noticing people start to pick up on, and that you're likely to see more about, is that like some rules are really just arbitrary barriers in there to keep people out. To keep people in their place, and you will see upper classes just completely ignore those rules and never get punished for them. You do it, you're in a lot of trouble, but if the upper class does it, it's no big deal. You know, like if you were to go and start a Ponzi scheme tomorrow and it was like obvious, the authorities would come after you immediately, right? But if you started it with a cryptocurrency and it's already like big money, and some of these people have millions and billions of dollars to spend on lobbying and so forth, and then all of the regulators look away for as long as they can. Like, that's literally what's going on, is like cryptocurrency is attempting regulatory capture of the financial regulators. Blah, 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 blah. They're hitting 25. So let's see here. Kind of like some of the prices before the downtrend that preceded the news was here at 25. The high was 27. Yeah, 27. And then yesterday's high was 30. So I suppose it's possible. I mean, look, it's not too far away. Very much possible that we get long flows that exceed yesterday's. At the moment, though, I'm not really seeing the volume for it, and I'm not seeing. I don't know. I mean, I kind of see some reasons for them to go short. The big thing that we have driving us today is that there is a 5-year note auction, and I kind of thought maybe the people that would want to get it in the primary auction would think that 3.4 is way too low. Or sorry, what would we be in the 5-year? 3 point. I guess it would be a little bit higher than that, but so that would maybe cause some selling, and it's not, so far today it's not playing out that way. Oh, let's see here. U.S. durable goods orders unexpectedly soar in March thanks to Boeing. Okay, so Boeing was the reason that we had such a big number relative to the expectation. What's this? House Republicans' 4.8 trillion debt limit package hangs in the balance, Speaker Kevin McCarthy and his top lieutenants made several concessions in order to secure enough votes to pass the Limit Save Grow Act. The changes, aimed at winning over holdout Midwestern Republicans who threatened to sink the bill, were the result of a marathon House Rules Committee meeting that stretched into early Wednesday morning and included an amendment which softens a provision repealing several biofuel tax credits. The regulatory capture, man, just like right as we're talking about it, right? Okay, so you're getting these credits for making corn that can be turned into fuel, even though it's not very effective or a good thing. But we have to keep that in there because somebody's benefiting from it. What a disappointing. But it's more important that they get it done. Okay. McCarthy can only lose 4 Republican votes and pass a measure which he hopes will kick off negotiations with President Biden and Democratic leaders. Meanwhile, McCarthy's drafted amendment pulls funding from the Inflation Reduction Act for green building construction. The Department of Energy loan guarantees deferred maintenance for national parks, air pollution for states and municipalities, as well as a neighborhood access and equity grant program. I think we're doing well. I think we're doing fine. Said House Majority Whip Tom Emmer Tuesday night. It just depends on when the speaker decides he's ready to go. So right here on the Treasury, the other day we were talking about unfinished auction. That to me is what you're seeing right there. So look, 26 went bid. And a lot is traded at 25. That is one where the buyers are unlikely to be done and they're going to continue pushing up. That's the way that the auction theory people look at it. I'm just saying, I've done some back testing. It's random. It's not a very effective predictor of things. In this situation, I don't know. We are seeing a little bit of meta order. I mean, because we've got that turn up. It is about 5K worth of turn. And oh, wow, look at that. There you go. It's a little bit of a pop in volume. Okay, I was wondering if I had heard something on the news squawk. Oh, interesting. Okay. U.S. authorities are currently unwilling to intervene in First Republic. That's what the news headline was. Okay, so let's shift gears here. I feel like I maybe already missed the opportunity to go long treasuries off of that news. Let's just see. They might. Well, it looks like they're going to extend here a little bit. So 30 was yesterday's high. So let's see if we can pull them up. Wow. The market is reacting so strongly to that headline. I'm not going to say it's an innocuous headline. We mentioned the First Republic Bank at the beginning of the day. Okay, they are down in the overnight session. So let's shift this over to FRC Death Watch. FRC Death Watch. I don't know if YouTube will like that as a title, but we'll see. This is not. That's interesting. Okay, so we were at 26 when that headline hit, right? So I'm just watching the flows and everything. Let's mess around with it on Sim a little bit. I don't think that trying to fade this makes much sense. But it does appear to be some volatility. Like, for me to go long here on my live account, my concern is this could fall back really far and then go break a new high. Like, this is the sort of thing that will go and hit your stops, right? So when the volatility really explodes like that, if I'm not already in, I've really got to get a good spot to do it, right? When you get a response to a headline like that, that makes me think that there's no way FRC survives without government intervention. And if the government is just going to let them go under, then they're just going to let them go under, right? And then we deal with the consequences afterwards. But I don't see how you sit there and are like, you know, want to buy First Republic Bank right here in this situation, right? Because when the market starts throwing temper tantrums about things like that, it does it until it's over. Right? They do it until the regulators are forced to respond. Okay, well, we're now plus 15,000 from the lows. Let's see if I can get more information on this report. Okay, so it's CNBC. The report from CNBC said that First Republic pitched a plan where the government would pay above market value for bonds that First Republic holds so the bank could raise money. For now, the government isn't willing to come to the table. The latest report doesn't appear to be taking the market by surprise, with shares of FRC still down 14% in the pre-market. CNBC's David Faber said that a resolution likely FDIC receivership is, quote, getting close because the chance of finding a buyer is virtually nil. He said a buyer would have a $25 billion drop in book value due to HTM issues. So, sorry, what does HTM stand for? Held to maturity securities. Gotcha. Okay, well, the upside is, so what I'm seeing right now is the treasuries having a little bit of a hard time continuing through on this. Like, they're trying to push it, the buyers are coming in, but they're not making much progress because of the liquidity and so forth. So, hey, that was pretty easy. Which means this is a good location to do this, yeah. Okay, so that's interesting the story basically, so my takeaway from that presentation of the story, wait, before I say this, let me go to CNBC and see if we can find the actual story. They must have reported it on the air. I do not see it on their website yet. Oh, I forgot about that. Okay. First Republic also said in its quarterly report Monday that it was reviewing strategic options to reshape its balance sheet. The steep decline in deposits came despite a group of 11 larger banks infusing $30 billion of deposits into First Republic in an attempt to instill confidence and prevent bank runs from spreading. Advisors to First Republic are trying to convince at least some of those banks to provide further support by buying some of First Republic's assets at above market rates. Yeah, fit. Good luck selling that one. Wait, so if First Republic gets taken over by the FDIC, what happens to the deposits that those banks all put into it? I think that they would probably still get most of their money back, right? They might not get back 100%, but... So, the question is, what's JP Morgan doing this morning? It is down at the moment. Okay. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to add JP Morgan as a new pane like this. Yes. Okay. By the way, I don't have this one. I'm not going to be taking any orders in here. I might as well make sure that's disarmed. Okay, it was. Okay, so we're 2 minutes into the open. Let's like really zoom in here. I do kind of wonder, the thing that we've been seeing in the recent history, at least, is like, you get the big scary volatility event, and like the market makers immediately clamped down on volatility, right? That's what happened after the last one. And when I watch this playing out here this morning, I can see hints of that. Yeah. Like there was a big explosion in volatility, and like the markets really took off there, right? And then it immediately gets stuck in the hole and starts chopping around and playing with people. Yeah, First Republic is taking a dive now. Let's switch this to 1 minute bars. So now they're starting to get into some of these prices from before the move, actually. It was, yeah. Sources told CNBC's David Faber on Wednesday that the government officials are currently unwilling to intervene in the First Republic rescue process. If First Republic is successful in selling off some of its assets, it will then look to raise equity, according to sources, which would dilute current shareholders. Ouch. Dude, I feel so bad for anybody caught up in the mess owning First Republic bank shares, because there was a number of posts on Wall Street bets of people that had put way too much money into that. Like, there was one person, they had put like a life savings of 100,000 into it or something. Like, what the hell are you thinking? That is way too risky of a play to be putting that kind of money into it. And so there's a ton of retail traders, and assuming that this bank doesn't, that this stock doesn't just get delisted here in a day, if it survives, they're gonna get that they're gonna dilute the F out of the existing shareholders. So this thing is toxic to be holding, man. I could take a fifth. I will take a fifth at 24.5. Kind of a risky situation to be doing that, I think, but oh, come on, you can't even take out 96 at 26.5. There you go. Oh, that's weird that it didn't fill me there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that behavior, I would say, is evidence of low latent liquidity. The problem is volume is still high, and it's like low latent liquidity everywhere. It's not like, usually it's like there's low latent liquidity, but then the liquidity firms up down here, and it firms up here, and that's what keeps it in the hole. This is just turning into chaos. See, so for me, with what I'm doing here, market making it, I'm doing okay, I guess. But for anybody trying to trade these outrights with individual contracts, it's probably very, very frustrating right now. By the way, biggest winner on my board right now, the euro up 1%. The dollar took a dive after that Freddie news. Because the market seems to be saying that there's going to be continued money printing to resolve this. I don't know. Oh, did one of those contracts did get filled on the offer? I guess I missed it. Well, I'll keep myself at 4 anyways. Yeah. So again, the scene of the crime was like around 25 half. Like they were there was kind of like, this one was kind of weird because there was like a breakout of sorts just before the news hit. So, okay. Interesting. So now we're to VWAP at 24. Okay. A little bit of a shift there in the treasury back to the upside. But there was some spot like 25. There was a reasonable amount of volume there. The bids and offers look a little bit better. Okay. Oh, and you know, as we're getting this over the last 5 minutes or so, there has been a little bit of a turn in FRC after the initial downside from the open. There's also been some steepening in the yield curve. That steepening in the knob mostly happened before the news, though. And then when the news hit, then you started to see it in the 2 and 10. So, I wonder, do you think that some buyers in the treasuries knew that a story like that was coming and was going to hit? I think that there is some evidence there was some flows in that direction before the news hit, you know? but it was kind of coming, and then it hit the news squawks, took off. Okay. So that up move in FRC halted the stock. You believe that? That's so funny. It declined gradually, and then there was like a strong shot up, and so that halted it. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. You noticed though that when you get a stock that's being halted, that it always seems to play out like that? Usually to the detriment of the stockholders. Banana Republic. Oh, I don't know. The thing is, why did they buy? Okay, so it looks like it opened back up here again, and like the initial move after them opening it up is down. Treasury's being pretty wishy-washy here, don't you think? Like, I mean, they're moving around like this decent amount of volatility, but not a lot of volume. It's kind of hard to get fills on some of these. Okay, let's hear. So my order at 28 is left there from that kind of that range that they didn't get to. They never filled it when we were arranged back. Because I'm kind of eyeing this thinking, okay, so do I want to do some market making here in this spot? But I don't think I do. I think I was able to find those support areas really well. Between what I was able to identify as like buyer average position and the VWAP, and that is where it stopped. So oh boy, the vulgar messages that helped seal Tucker Carlson's fate at Fox News. I would love to read those. I would love to read those. Whoa. Okay, several weeks ago, as Fox News lawyers prepared for a courtroom showdown with Dominion voting systems, they presented Tucker Carlson with what they thought was good news. They had persuaded the court to retract from a legal filing the time he called a senior Fox executive the C word, according to people familiar with the matter. Oh, wait, that must have been the girl that fired him. Oh, man. Such drama. Mr. Carlson, Fox News' most watched primetime host, wasn't impressed. He told his colleagues that he wanted the world to know what he had said about the executive in a private message. the people said. Mr. Carlson said comments he made about former President Trump, quote, "I hate him passionately," that were in the court documents were said during a momentary spasm of anger. And while his dislike of the executive was deep and enduring, whoa, that just makes this story so much more interesting. Because all of the Donald Trump supporters have been 100% behind Tucker Carlson and are saying that these are the elites trying to keep us under their thumb and preventing us from having real journalism, etc., etc., etc. And you're telling me that Tucker Carlson hates Donald Trump passionately? The texts are actually old news. Well, I do vaguely remember them saying stuff about texts that would come out during the court case, but I don't remember it saying that he hates President Trump passionately. I mean, if I was pro Donald Trump, I think I would have a hard time trusting Tucker, right? I gotta tell you, I still believe it depends on how this goes for Tucker. Okay, but either way, this ends up being one of the most significant cultural news stories of the decade, because Fox is so screwed either way, right? Octavia says I canceled Fox yesterday. I don't think anybody's gonna watch them. Now the thing is, what does Tucker do? Because there's two sides to this for Tucker, right? One is who comes out on his side, right? I mean, it does sound like he said some things that he shouldn't have said, but you know, maybe a lot of people will like that he said those things, right? Like if he has opinions about people and he doesn't like them and he's dealing with the situation the best that he can, I'm okay with that, you know? Nothing about why Bongino got canned. Well, it's probably a similar sort of thing, right? Anyways, so I think some people might still like him after the texts, right? Unless he says something in there where he knew that he was pushing disinformation, and he's like, oh, well, I know that they didn't actually steal the election, but that's what my audience wants to hear, so that's why I'm doing it, sort of a thing. Then that would be really bad for him, right? But so there's that side, which is do his fans stick with him, which I think that they will, but that's not a given. Okay. And then the second thing is assuming that they do, where does he go? Because there's there's Newsmax, there's One America News Network, there's the Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's network, or he could go to like an open platform like Rumble, or he could do things on his own, kind of like what Bill O'Reilly ended up doing, right? So depending on how it goes, it could be, you know, who knows if Tucker, you know, becomes a footnote in history, or if he just becomes an even bigger personality. That's... Sarah Ferris says senior Republicans coming out of conference meetings say they feel good about passing that measure today. They can lose about 4 and maybe more. Both sides had about 6 absences last night. Unclear who makes it back. By the way, it still didn't get filled at 25. First Republic taking another dive. You say those came out in March. Okay. So then why aren't the Trump supporters more upset about that? kind of a little itchy here this morning. It's freaking allergies, man. It just like, even my skin will itch. It's just like, you know what? I don't think I should have a dog. I think that it's like a little piece of pet dander will get on me and I can feel it itch or something. So, while I'm thinking about all of that stuff, another political story that I should note that probably going to go under the radar for a lot of people is that Bernie Sanders says that he's not going to run a campaign and there's not going to be Democrat debates. So the Democrats are clearing the lane for Joe Biden to rerun when he announced on Tuesday. I'm sure that Mr. Kennedy will be upset about that, but what's he going to do about it? Oh, and by the way, it looks like FRC got halted again. It looks like it got halted again. And I don't know, like JP Morgan is not completely in line with it, but JP Morgan is like approaching lows of the day too. I'm thinking about our title and I'm like, what would be a better title than just FRC Watch? Want to say something about like that this is going to get delisted like any day now, and it's interesting drama, but without using the word death, because I don't think YouTube likes that. Well, it's interesting to me, when that headline came out, the treasuries reacted very strongly to it. The stock market is relatively tame. Like they've been in like a 5-point range here since the open. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, isn't it? The stock market doesn't seem to care. And the treasuries have traded a lot of volume between 25 and 27, haven't they? I guess maybe I should have tried to get some stuff between 26 and 27. Because it's looking like 27 is the top end of this range. I'll tell you what, put an order there. All right. Okay, McCarthy is now also saying that he is confident that they will pass the debt bill today, by the way. When I look at all of the work that I put through to give myself a little bit of room and it only gets down to the open, well, it's a little disappointing. It's probably going to be really hard to get another fill at 27. I don't know, when I look at the First Republic Bank chart here, man, it's kind of like I'm a little bit surprised that they're faring. It's not worse. Kind of feel like it should be worse than it has been. More banks imploding, not good. Well, it's yeah, it's not good, but I wouldn't say that it's like. I suspect that the treasury market may be overreacting. I mean, the way that this is traded since the initial pop suggests to me that the market overreacted. Tell you what, it's the range is starting to get really tight in the 10-year treasury. I read somewhere that he's under contract until 2024, therefore he can't really go anywhere. Tucker Carlson? But if they let him go, wouldn't that release him from that contract? I shouldn't say that I'm surprised, but I do find it interesting that we haven't heard anything from Tucker yet. Now, what, 2-3 days later? But maybe I kind of assume that that's because he's holding his tongue until he knows where he's going and he can make a big PR push about it. When there's blood in the street by them? Yeah. My take is that when you see those sorts of things going on, it's better to sit on the sidelines and just watch. Yeah, the one lucky guy that hit it big off of that, of course he'll say that. But the other 100 people that got screwed over trying to play that thing, you know, you never hear from them. Right. Well, he was under contract till 2024. But the question is, do they have any clauses about if he is released? Because how would you, it would be really foolish to have a contract that says, if you get fired, you still can't work for anybody else. Right? Didn't Buffett lighten up his bank? He did. He did. And he sold, what was it? He sold his position in Taiwan Semiconductor. I'm sure they're obligated to pay him. Well, usually the way that a contract like this works is like, there's different clauses. So like they can buy him out, for instance. They can say, oh, if we let you go, we have to pay you X amount, right? But they could also say, if we let you go for cause or we fire you, then we don't have to pay you. And, you know, there could be like a non-compete clause, or, you know, it just depends on the like there's just no way to say without knowing the contract, right? So let me take this from a different kind of direction. What I often see in a situation like this, especially among conservative leaning people, is that everybody will come in with their speculation, and they're not very good at telling people that it's speculation and that they don't really know. They treat it like it's fact. And so you'll get all sorts of people saying all sorts of things. But the reality is that without seeing the contract, and probably only Tucker and his agent have actually seen it, there's no way for us to know how that actually plays out, right? But when Bill O'Reilly was let go by the network, he had his own thing up and going within weeks. And so I don't see why that would be different with like Tucker. Right. Unless Tucker's contract is significantly different from Bill O'Reilly's, which it could be, right? That's why we don't really know unless we know something about the contract. That was fast. You can see the market makers pushing back and forth there at 26. It's gotten tight. Remember when oil went below? I want to forget that day. Never been more mad. So like, because I had been playing it earlier in the month, I'd already blown it and decided not to trade oil, and then there was like the perfect opportunity to go long on the micros and couldn't do it. I didn't want to forget that day. I didn't lose money on that day, but I was like probably one of the most missed opportunities ever. FRC is kind of starting to hint that downside again. I wonder if they'll have to halt it again. I wonder, is the next headline we should be expecting today being FDIC has taken over FRC? Could that happen today? It might. It's within the realm of possibilities, isn't it? The question is just like, okay, so then that happens. Does the market care? Does there like knockoff effects from that? Or does volatility immediately contract like it did before? Okay. It's the lower end of that range again. I guess I should have stuck with my guns and not have done that market making up at that higher area, because my cost basis would be around 24 and I could be adding down here instead. I mean, I guess I did get a number of contracts up there, but the 5-year fell out there pretty quickly, by the way. The thing is that coming in this morning, I was looking for, okay, they're at 3.4. I was expecting the flows to be short today, so I guess it doesn't surprise me to see some downside, but okay, Freddy did not, they halted? I'm not seeing the candle. Might have. Well, I don't have another one listed here, so. Wells Fargo cuts Q1 GDP growth forecast by a full percentage point to 0.8% based on recent revisions of core retail sales data by the Commerce Department. There you go. Brannigan Barrett, the great secret revealed that should break the internet. Trading is a self-taught skill. If only I had $1 million marketing budget, I could embed this understanding into millions of developing traders' mindsets and save them countless hours of frustration. Stop asking for answers, Sim. Trading has to be, well, it's like, I don't know if self-taught is the right word. Trading is a lot like learning to program, which is to say that it requires experience to do it, because it's about problem solving and working through things. All these people that are telling you, oh, you just recognize a pattern and do it, doesn't work that way. Market is very statistically efficient. But you know, when you're programming, you can't just like read the book and then you program. You have to go and like actually program stuff. And, you know, I did computer science at a university, and it was 4 years of just writing computer programs every week. And many it was rough sometimes. Like, it was really hard sometimes. Like, it was a lot of work. You'd have like 4 big assignments to do, and each one of those assignments were like 20 hours worth of work, and you had to do it all in 1 week. All you did was program, man. Trading is a similar thing. You can't learn it without getting the experience of doing it. And so to some extent, yeah, trading can only be learned by experience. I don't think I want to say that it has to be completely self-taught, but I'm going to say trading can only be learned by experience. Can you figure out the next bank failure through code? We could identify who is the most vulnerable, yes. Although I think one of the problems you'd have there is people did that, and First Republic Bank was the one that was most vulnerable, and nobody else really came close. So, from there, you would have to be talking about a different catalyst to bring them into it, which I think there's still a good chance could happen. In particular, like regional banks holding commercial real estate assets could really be hurting at some point, right? So then we could go in and look at who has the most risk if the commercial real estate sector continues going down, right? Wow, the equities have just turned down very aggressively here. And we did get like a quick bid in the treasuries as well. There could be another headline that hasn't hit the wire yet. I'll say for the credit, man, beats me, man. I kind of want to switch my bank. I have a credit union. I love my credit union, but their online offerings aren't very good, and I can't seem to connect my Mint account to it, so it's hard for me to keep track of my expenditures. So I'm thinking of switching to a bigger bank that would integrate better. Okay, Forex Live tweets, Cable gives back whatever that pop was about. Okay. Well, they're seeing a little bit of a run in the dollar, but then the dollar started shifting back down, which suggests to me like another headline related to First Republic Bank. Meanwhile, that market making really worked out in my favor in the end, didn't it? I'm still not below the low of the day, but it's not bad. When your local bank is now only an ATM, no more walk-ins, so that's funny. Well, I mean, the funny thing is that like your bank account is really just at this point is really just a reason to draw you in for the services where they actually make money, like the loans and stuff, right? So they don't really make money on providing the checking accounts. That's why they attach so many fees to them. now. It wasn't like that before 2008. Before 2008, it was like if you overdrafted, for instance, I remember a time where if you overdrafted, it didn't do anything. It just didn't go through. And then all of a sudden they realized, oh, if we charge them $15 every time it happens, we actually can make a lot of money from doing that. And then they set it all up to make it likely to happen. Boy, and hard for you to set your account up so that, you know, it doesn't just automatically overdraft. You would prefer you go to buy and you can't buy that it just gets rejected at the cash register, right? Yeah, FRC is breaking new lows again. As the treasury's been up there a little bit. They're still having trouble getting above this. Well, okay, so before the range was 27. Now they're at 28. But you can see once they get above that 27, it's like the gravity is there. The market buys aren't there anymore. And I guess my takeaway from that is that it would not make sense for me to add contracts at 28 and try and take 28 or 27.5 to 28, maybe even. There's 28.5 and would have been a fill. You know, we never came up with a good title for, you know, FRC. Let's say FRC on the ropes. We'll say it that way. They're on the ropes. You know, it's kind of funny to think about that headline hit an hour ago, right? Is that like... Whoa, okay, now we're getting some bids are firming up below us. Yeah, JP Morgan has been selling. Sorry, excuse me, I probably just busted your ears there. JP Morgan has been selling this whole time. That's the lower chart that I have on there, by the way. The one below FRC is JP Morgan, to keep track of the larger banks, because all of the banks had put money into them to save them, and to see that that's not working and that the bank is likely to go kaput is a little concerning, isn't it? I don't know if that really means a whole lot for these other banks or anything, but like, come on. You know, it really paints a picture of a market that is dysfunctional and that, you know, will continue to have drama after drama. You know, something dramatic happens, 2 months go by, everybody thinks that everything's fine, and then another shoe drops, and that just keeps happening and happening until something bad enough happens that it like resets everything and forces the Federal Reserve to reduce rates. The way that spike happened, though, that could have been the end of it, to be honest with you. I'm just realizing how much I'm making the camera shake by bouncing my leg. Sorry. Okay. There's a lot of really big offers above us in the 5-year, aren't there? Remember, there's a 5-year auction today. For a second there, I thought I had lost track of the time. No, it's 8:30. Okay. We do get oil numbers, right? Oh, it's a pretty big draw. I'm not seeing oil react too strongly to it, but it's a draw. I would think that would make him move up. Am I getting something wrong there? Oh, no, now it's moving. Now it's moving. Dude, how low can First Republic Bank go? Right? Because they were at 7. Right now we're at 5. I think it looks like they maybe got halted again. You know what? I need to get rid of those, that little, like, news event thing. Latest news. There we go. Yeah, it looks like it was probably halted, but... because in all seriousness, I think it's worth 0, right? Like the story that I read this morning was they can't save it. They can't save it. It's going to go under, and not all depositors will be insured. Down tick. It's going into the tight range again though in the 10-year. Not sure, you know, it's possible that we have another spike up and that we do break those highs, and it could be pretty fun if we do, but that's kind of looking to me like if it happens, it's going to happen after the stream, yeah? Fortunately. Do you hear my phone when it beep buzzes like that? Oh, why does it? You know what? I need to just turn off notifications for that. This is my camera. I saw movement on the camera, but it shouldn't be screwed up. It shouldn't be sending me notifications at this time. By the way, of all of these instruments, the 5-year has the most consistent order flow to the upside today. Certainly in this post-news move, they're bidding. Okay, it looks like First Republic is going again, and they immediately sell it. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, there's a buy. There's a buy. Maybe. Did it just get halted again? No. Okay, it's still going. I'm like, Oh, maybe it did get halted. Did it get halted again? By the way, where is this? Yeah, it is the Nicey. Okay. Yeah. Okay, it was paused at 10:35:08 Eastern time. Oh, that was the depository shares. Okay, it was at 10:22, at 10:29 and now 10:35. So it was just halted again. I honestly, I'm like, just delist it. I don't know how these things work, but to me, I'm just like, how is this even still trading? Who would buy? If you're buying this right now, I think you're crazy. And if you somehow get away with it and make money off of it, then kudos to you. But I don't think it's going to work out that way. I want to be a little bit more forward. I'm going to adjust my seat here. This could take a little bit of time getting used to. So it tilts the seat forward a little bit. Well, we're back to that range 27. I would be thinking about maybe adding here, especially if it got back to 25, but there's not enough time anymore. So, in fact, I think I may just exit at 27. We'll see. I'm gonna give it a little bit of time because it has been doing this thing lately where like you'll see a decline and like it immediately comes back super hard. But if we're still here in like 5 minutes, then yeah. S&P still pretty tight today, actually. There was a period where it really came down hard, but it's since moderated. So Vanguard, the biggest investor in FRC? Well, I mean, that's going to be the case in any company that goes under, though, right? I hate LAFTA. I don't know if that matters or not, but... Well, I'm a little curious to see what happens when FRC gets unhalted. Hey, and Steffa, how's it going? You know, like, here's the I really think we need to change this system, don't you think? It doesn't seem to me. Okay, so they unhalted it. It's a little bit higher. It doesn't seem to me that halts reduce volatility. It seems like the whole idea of it, like, let's stop it and give them a moment to think about things and stuff like that. All it does is just make the liquidity fly away because they don't want to get stuck in a position during a halt. And the possibility of a gap after the halt. It needs to change, I think. They don't accomplish the goal they set out to do very well at all. At the very least, the percentage levels for stocks need to be adjusted to be much wider, because these situations where like it gets halted and then it's open and it's only open for like 5 minutes and it gets halted again is just retarded, right? It needs to be like some ridiculous percentage that would really only happen off of like a news piece or something like that. Okay, so now 26 Ave will recenter there. Oh, what? Okay, Walter Bloomberg reports, being retweeted by Carl Quintilla, Amazon is starting layoffs in cloud division on Wednesday. Okay. Eso no bueno. In the cloud division, they're cutting back in the cloud division, the one that's like doing the best. It concerns me. Maybe it's because it hits close to home, because I've been doing a lot of stuff with cloud, although not in the Amazon cloud, in Azure. Papyrus IQ, Goldman shareholder criticizes CEO Solomon's leadership at annual meeting. Yeah, well, it should be. You should be. I mean, I don't think that it's all him, but like, the buck stops somewhere. The Goldman Sachs processes look anything but robust. To many of us outside observers and shareholders, they look pretty weak. Paul Chester, a director at the National Legal and Policy Center, said at the bank's annual meeting on Wednesday in Dallas. He cited gender lawsuits, junior banker burnout, and reports about Solomon's use of the company's private jets as reasons the Wall Street powerhouse should appoint an independent chair. Well, okay. I don't know if any of those things that he is citing have anything to do with Solomon and are more I would say that those things are more systemic culture issues at the company than they are anything to do with David Solomon. Right. What I want to know is how they screwed up going into retail banking and then took such a horrible loss on it. That's what I want to know. Anyways, the bank urged shareholders to reject the proposal, saying in its proxy that directors take very seriously their obligations to act in the best interests of the firm and its shareholders. Are they saying like that they want like CEO and chairman to be separate? We need to research on what the impacts of that kind of a shift is. Oh, by the way, the dollar looks like it's recovered most of its losses since the FRC headlines. And we're getting a little bit of selling here again. Oh boy, a fake account verified by Twitter Blue posed as a Sudanese army official and falsely reported the death of a military leader. The tweet reportedly got over 1 million views before it was taken down. Sudan is in the middle of an active military conflict. Yeah, that doesn't look bad. That doesn't look good, Elon. That doesn't look bad. I'm so silly. I'm always tripping over my words. It's like, you know what, Seth? You should be on TV or something like that. Yeah, well, I don't know if you can do that if you're going to be like blah, 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 all the time, right? Bitcoin rising as banks drop. Well, I'm not entirely convinced that Bitcoin moving has anything to do with that. I don't know, man. So like Bitcoin jumped an hour before any of that happened, and it was up overnight. So you know, it's really hard for us to find evidence to tie the moves in Bitcoin to anything. So it could be, but I don't know how I would be able to determine that that's the case, because this has been the case for the past few weeks, that price movements in Bitcoin seem to just come out of nowhere. And can I say another thing about this? So the story is that the government is not going to help them, right? So the story is they want to get rid of some of these distressed assets. Nobody wants to buy them. They pitched a deal to the government that would allow them to do something. That wasn't enough. They already got the bailout from the Fed. That wasn't enough, right? So what are they going to do? That bank is going to go under. And what that would result in is more credit tightness, right? If the government was to come in and do something, then that would be more paper hitting the market. Okay, so if you saw that, that's the kind of a funny thing is that remember when this happened before, and when the government said that they were going to do something, like it was a lot of money came into the markets, and so the treasuries didn't exactly fall back down, right? They stayed high, essentially. So it's, you know, like the market was expecting the government to come in and do something, and then they did, and so that justified the interest rates, and then the paper came into the money, and that money went over into the stock market, right? So if the government's not going to do that, that could tighten credit conditions, which would be bad for Bitcoin. So you could probably make an argument either way as to why this is good or bad for Bitcoin, right? Because the reality is that it doesn't affect Bitcoin directly necessarily. First Republic wants U.S. government rescue as stock keeps falling after $100 billion loss in deposits. That's so much money, $100 billion. Where are they getting $100 billion from? Oh, by the way, I said I would get out of this. I will try and work an exit here. They may force me to scratch it. Seeing a little bit of an increase in activity here, especially in the SPOOs. I want to trade, no data sucks. Well, wait, are you saying that your data went down, or are you just saying that there's no reason to trade right now? It's interesting after that last halt that FRC has kind of been slowly to the upside. Yeah, you don't have any data. Oh, who are you with? Your data provider is down? I'm just gonna scratch it. Oh, that was a good catch. I was like, looks like it's gonna tick down, so I took it, and sure enough, it did. So, oh, the 14-day trial on NinjaTrader doesn't work like you. Yeah, no. Nice trade. So let's look at it here to see if we can tell. It was a nice trade. So we made $250 off of, oh geez, 38 trades. Sorry, that's 19, isn't it? 38 divided by 2, 19 trades. So 250 divided by 19 means 13.15789, which is less than the tick size of the market. So that would be a C on a market making trade. Even though it was a profitable trade, that would be a C. If I had taken it off up here, it would have been great. But to have done that many trades and only barely make the spread is not, I wouldn't necessarily call it great trading, because you should expect to get the spread anyways from the market making. So I guess it's good that I didn't lose money or anything, but because that could very much happen with what I was doing and the risk I was taking on. But considering the risk that I was taking on, to have only gotten that is not very good. Not trying to bash on myself. I want, if there's anybody the news that's watching and they think that, oh, I should do this market making thing that Seth was doing with the sim contracts and everything else. Well, it wasn't very good. Didn't work very well that time. Didn't perform very well that time. Just want you to know what the reality is and how you can try and judge your own performance on that sort of a thing. Right, you're taking multiple contracts and you're only making a tick per contract. That's like the minimum that you should get. Well, it looks like in First Republic Bank, you may have had a large meta order sell, and this kind of looks like the post meta order impact sort of a deal. Like, it's gone very quiet here. 24 is kind of the bottom end of the range. It was where the VWAP was before, but it's not anymore, and that is reasonably below both the VWAP and the buyer's average position. So I think I would have to say that there is some selling coming in the market on the longer end of the curve here. And remember, there is a 5-year auction today, so watch out for that. Could move the market a little bit. Could move the treasury market at least. So, but I don't know. Will the FDIC might step in here today or tomorrow? To be honest with you, so we'll see. I'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent.